Why waste your precious limited time that you have on this earth doing things that aren't even important to you? If you want to spend your time more intentionally and on things that matter to you and that you value, follow me through this activity. To be able to make sure we are spending our time on what is important to us, let's first figure out what it is that we value. What are your values? This can be a hard question to answer off the top of your head. So here's a few examples to consider. Do you value your health, good food, time with your family, succeeding in your career, making money, resting and recharging? Do you have a specific hobby that you really enjoy doing? What activities make you most happy? What would your dream day look like? Write down what is most important to you and what you think your values are. You might be tempted to write down all of these examples that I have just said, and likely you will value all of them. But try to pick out the top 3 to 5 that are most important to you. Okay, so next is where you have to do a bit of work. But trust me, it's really important to go through all of these steps so that you can figure out how you can spend your time intentionally. So I want you to start by logging how you currently use your time. I want you to log your day in as much detail as possible. Try to write down all the things you do, even the small things like brushing your teeth. The more detail you can go into, the more insights you're going to have into where exactly your time is currently going. Keeping a log can definitely be time consuming, but if you can do it for a day or 2 or even a week, this will allow you to observe different activities between days. Try to make sure that you cover all of your regular activities in your log. Write down your everyday tasks in your log. One thing that you can do is use tools to help you figure this out. For example, you can check your screen time use on your phone. Now, I know the iPhone has this function, and I assume that other phones would as well. So how long are you spending on social media? How long are you spending working or studying during the day? How long do you spend getting ready in the morning? How long do you spend cooking, exercising? Aim to be as truthful as possible when you fill out your log. Don't write down a shorter time than what you actually spend on something because you want it to be shorter. This defeats the purpose of this logging activity. Also, don't judge yourself. You have decided that you want to make an improvement in how you manage your time, and this is fantastic, but no reason to feel guilt or shame as you take stock of your current situation. Once you've completed your log, it's time to review it. So firstly, just have a look through your log. If it's a bit overwhelming and you feel like there's too many items, feel free to group some items together if that helps you. For example, if you've got the time down for showering, brushing your teeth, drying your hair, perhaps you can group that into just getting ready in the morning. Okay, so what we're going to do now is to calculate a percentage of the day that you spend doing each of your activities. So, for example, if you sleep for 8 out of the 24 hours in a day, you would divide 8 by 24, multiply it by 100 to get a percentage, which works out to be 33%. Another example is if you spend 20 minutes getting dressed and ready in the morning. There are 1,140 minutes in a day, so 20 divided by 1,140 multiplied by 100 to get a percentage is about 1.8%. It is probably easiest if you can copy your log into an Excel spreadsheet so that it can do the calculations to get the percentages for you. But otherwise, you can still do it by hand and write it down. If you don't want to bother with the percentages, that's okay. You can just look at the total amount of time that you're spending on each of the items in your log. All right, now that we've got the maths out of the way, it's time to look at how much time you're spending on each of your everyday activities. Read through each item on your log carefully. Take note if there is anything that surprises you. Now I want you to rank the items from those you spend the most amount of time on to those you spend the least amount of time on. It's likely that work or school or sleep will be the items that you spend the most amount of time on in your day. But what about the items that come next? Perhaps it's traveling to work or school. But what about after that? Have a look through the list now that it is ranked in order of what you spend your time on. Now it's time to really dive into the data. I want you to pull out the list of things you value that I got you to write down at the start of all this. Look at that list of values and compare this to your daily time log. Does it align? If it aligns pretty closely, well done. You are already spending your time according to your values. If it does not align, that's okay, and probably quite likely. Let's look and work out why it might not align. Firstly, try to identify if any of the activities you have logged are those on your value list. Did you spend time with your friends, and that is something that you value? If so, draw a smiley face next to that item on your log, and all other items that do align to your values. Some of these might be hidden, so make sure that you think carefully about each item on your log. For example, you might have walk the dog on your log, but walking the dog isn't a value on your list. However, perhaps exercising or having time to yourself or spending time with family are on your list, and walking the dog actually aligns with that value. Then look at the other things that are on your log that aren't on your value list. How much time are you spending on those? Often there are things that we wouldn't consider our values, but that we need to get done, like housework, showering, that kind of thing. So don't worry too much about those for this moment, but we'll come back to that later. Now that you've had a look and compared each of the items on your list to your list of values, I want you to go through each item on your log and look at how much of your day you are spending on that activity. If you want to be spending more time on that activity or a similar amount of time because it's something that you value, put a plus symbol next to it. If you want to decrease the amount of time you spend on an activity, put a negative sign next to that activity. If you're happy with the amount of time that you spend doing an activity, for example, sleeping for 8 hours of a day, then just put a dash next to that one. Once you've done this, take another look at your value list. Is there anything that is completely missing from your log? Do you have fitness as a value, but you currently don't spend any time doing exercise? Write these down at the bottom of your list and put a 0 in the time column. Then, presumably, put a plus sign next to these items if there's something that you want to be doing more of. Now don't go too crazy with this, only add items that are part of your top 3 to 5 values. Although I bet you can think of numerous activities that you prefer to be doing that aren't in your log, but only add those that are most important to you. So far, we have looked at what our values are, how we currently spend our time, whether our current schedule matches our values, and what we might want to change to better align our daily life with doing things that are important to us. You can clearly see the items that you would like to do more of in your life. These have a plus next to them. But since our time is limited, we cannot just plan to do more of these things without reducing time spent on other things. Take a look at the items you had a negative sign next to and have a look at how much time you spent on these activities. Can you reduce the time spent on these activities? If you're feeling hesitant about this, look at the items on your list that you value, those with a smiley face next to them, or those at the bottom of your list with a 0 time next to them, but that you value. Try to work out what you might be able to trade time to increase the amount of time spent on the things that you would value. Also see if you can identify problem areas that may be reducing your productivity or making things take longer than they should be. For example, are you being distracted while you study or work? And is this making you take longer to get these things done? Perhaps by removing the distractions, you can actually decrease the amount of time you spend on that activity. You'll need to be a bit realistic when doing this. You can't trade all of your sleep hours to other activities because you need to sleep. You also can't avoid doing necessary things like housework and showering and working, but try to identify some easy swaps first. For example, if you usually watch TV for 2 hours every night, but you value spending time with your spouse, perhaps you could place a higher value on that relationship and you could decide to change an hour of your TV time to an hour spent doing something with your spouse. Hopefully you can find some easy swaps and time trades that you can do from your daily activities. The next thing you can do is to look for efficiencies. Perhaps you can't stop showering, but maybe you could cut the amount of time spent doing this and instead spend that time reading or meditating instead, for example. Similarly, look for ways to combine activities. Can you get your exercise at the same time as spending time with your kids or all doing a strenuous activity together? Can you listen to podcasts while you do housework? Can you get some study done while you're commuting on the train to work or school? You don't want to try to cram too many things or do too many things at once, but look at ways for you can try and fit in the activities that you value into your everyday life. Once you've decided on some time trade-offs and ideas of how you'd like to spend your day, it's now time to make a schedule with the activities and times that you'd like to spend on each. You can make a schedule for the next day or the next week or whatever you like. Don't forget that you can't do everything and you need some time for rest and relaxation too. Commit to following the schedule that you have set for yourself. You can review how you went afterwards and always complete similar steps that I have just gone through to keep adjusting your routine until it represents something that you are happy with. You can't do the fun things all the time, but by being intentional about how you spend the rest of your time, looking for efficiencies and working on creating a balance that you are happy with will help move you towards spending your time and your life on the things that are important and valuable to you. Thanks for watching today's video. Have you heard about my Study Smart course yet? The course teaches organization, prioritization, and time management tools to make studying easier and help you excel at school. A link to the course can be found in the description below. Please also don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this.